Voiceover. In February 1998, the NBA's brightest stars gathered at Madison Square Garden for the league's annual showcase, the All-Star Game. But this wasn't just another exhibition. This one had weight. This one had meaning. Because it might be the last time fans would ever see Michael Jordan, the greatest player of his generation, grace the All-Star floor. At 35 years old, Jordan had already conquered the NBA. Five-time champion, countless MVPs, and an aura of invincibility. But on this night, the spotlight was also starting to shift to a bold, fearless 19-year-old kid from the Lakers, Kobe Bryant.
Cut to soundbite.
Bill Walton. Michael Jordan considers Madison Square Garden the mecca of basketball. If this is his final All-Star game, it's the perfect place to make a last statement. Kobe had become the youngest All-Star starter in league history, and he wasn't just happy to be there. He came to compete. He came for Jordan. Cut to commentator. This is the game where you want a lot of oohs and a lot of ahs. The anticipation was electric. Fans weren't just watching an All-Star game, they were witnessing a generational collision. The living legend versus the fearless prodigy. Jordan versus Kobe. Old school versus new wave. Voiceover. And the moment the ball tipped, you could feel it in the air. This wasn't going to be a casual exhibition. It was going to be a statement from both sides. Voiceover begins. By the second quarter, the tone of the game had changed. This was no longer just an all-star exhibition. It was a showcase of pride, skill, and the unwritten rules of greatness. The crowd wasn't just watching for dunks or passes anymore. They were watching for moments. And most of those moments belonged to two players, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. Kobe wasn't playing like a rookie. He was aggressive, relentless, and hungry. Every time he got the ball, you could feel the crowd lean in. They knew what was coming. And Kobe didn't disappoint. Commentary highlights. Bryant, ahead of the field, reverse slam. That's what I'm talking about in an all-star game. He wasn't afraid of the moment. In fact, he embraced it. Kobe was going right at Jordan, pulling off spin moves, slicing into the lane, tossing in acrobatic shots that made jaws drop. It wasn't just impressive. It was intentional. Kobe knew what he was doing. He was testing the greatest. Cut to Kobe post-game. I was just having fun. I mean, what better way to learn the game than going at a guy like Mike? But Jordan wasn't there to be anyone's teacher.
Not yet.
He still had something to prove, even in an all-star setting. Despite being sick earlier in the day, MJ showed up with a purpose. No Phil Jackson. No Scottie Pippen. Just Michael in full control. When the ball touched his hands, the court slowed down. Every fake, every pivot, every fadeaway, calculated.
Smooth. Deadly. Commentary.
Jordan from the baseline got it. The crowd roared with every bucket. But it wasn't just about scoring. It was about message. Every time Kobe came at him, MJ came right back. He wasn't going to let a teenager walk into his world and take over. And make no mistake, Kobe was coming at him. Bryant fired from deep. He flew through the air. He spun in traffic. Even his misses were spectacular. He had that look in his eye, like this wasn't just another game. For Kobe, this was the test. He wanted to see where he stood against the greatest to ever do it. And Jordan? He respected that. He saw something familiar in Kobe, the drive, the fire, the fearlessness. Maybe that's why he didn't shy away. Maybe that's why he allowed the one-on-one moments to play out. Voiceover continues. For brief stretches, the other 9 players disappeared from focus. The East and West didn't matter. The MVP race didn't matter. It was just MJ and Kobe, trading moves, trading buckets, trading legacy. The old lion, the young challenger. And as halftime approached, the question hung in the air. Was this a passing of the torch, or a reminder that the king still reigned? Voiceover begins. As the second half began, one thing became clear. Michael Jordan wasn't done. Not tonight. Not in the building he loved the most. And not in front of a crowd that came to see one last masterpiece. Kobe had issued the challenge in the first half. Now it was MJ's turn to answer, and he answered the only way he knew how, by dominating. The moment the third quarter tipped off, Jordan shifted gears. His movements became sharper, his shots more deliberate. There was no rush, no panic. Just patience and precision. He wasn't chasing highlights, he was imposing his will. Commentary. Jordan intercepts the pass, takes it in, skills on display. You're allowed to use all your moves here, and he's using everything. He pulled up for mid-range jumpers. He slithered into the paint for crafty finishes. He read defenses like a book, and then rewrote the ending. The crowd, the cameras, the opposing team, everyone was just watching. And then came the moment, a play so vintage, so smooth, it silenced the noise. Jordan caught the ball near the elbow, made a subtle fake, pivoted, and launched a fadeaway over the outstretched arms of a defender.
Swish.
Nothing but net. And the garden erupted. Commentary. Count it, plus the foul. Jordan now has 8 and a chance for 9. He wasn't just showing off. He was showing out. The fadeaways, the footwork, the off-balance jumpers. It was a highlight reel in real time. And the younger players? They were watching like fans. Even Kobe, who was still pushing, still trying, still dazzling, couldn't help but respect what he was witnessing. This wasn't just a player holding off the next generation. This was a masterclass. A final exam in what it meant to be the guy. Cut to Jordan's halftime interview. It's not a showdown. I'm just doing my job to entertain. But I will defend myself without a doubt. And defend himself he did. By the end of the third quarter, Jordan had taken over the game completely. While others were rotating in and out, MJ was still locked in, still attacking, still teaching. At one point, he even smiled after a big shot, turning back toward the bench as if to say, "I'm still here." Voiceover continues. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The youngest starter in All-Star history had come to challenge the greatest and ended up learning in real time why Jordan was still the standard. Even Magic Johnson, watching from the sidelines, couldn't contain his amazement. Magic Johnson. I've never seen a young man like Kobe so confident at his age. But Michael? He's still the innovator of Showtime. This wasn't just nostalgia. This wasn't just a farewell tour. Jordan was earning every cheer. And just when you thought he might slow down, he pulled up from deep and nailed a three. Commentary. Jordan for three, got it. Just like that, he puts the stamp on it. A triple-double in an All-Star game, the first ever. At age 35.
Sick earlier that day.
Surrounded by younger legs. None of it mattered. He was still the boss. Voiceover begins. As the final quarter ticked away, the energy inside Madison Square Garden was unmistakable, a mixture of celebration, nostalgia, and quiet reverence. Everyone watching knew they were witnessing something rare, not just an All-Star game, but the possible final All-Star performance of the greatest player in NBA history. Michael Jordan had done more than defend his legacy. He elevated it again. By the time the dust settled, Jordan had recorded something no one had ever done before in All-Star history, a triple-double. 23 points, 8 assists, 6 rebounds, 3 steals, all while putting on a clinic against the best in the world. Commentary. Jordan did something tonight that's never been done in an All-Star game, and you better believe he earned every second of that MVP trophy. It was poetic. At age 35, still leading, still winning, still defining what greatness looks like. And while the numbers were impressive, what really stood out was the control, the pace, the poise. Jordan didn't chase the game, he commanded it. And across the court, Kobe Bryant continued to fight, continued to push, continued to prove that he wasn't just a teenager looking for attention. He was a future superstar in the making. The reverse dunks, the flashy spin moves, the deep threes, they weren't just tricks. They were a signal. I'm coming. Cut to post-game interview. So, what did you learn from Michael tonight, Kobe? Kobe smiles. Can't tell you that. I gotta keep that for myself. There was a mutual respect between them. Unspoken, but clear. Kobe didn't need Jordan's approval, and Jordan didn't need to anoint a successor. But in that game, through the competition and fire, there was a passing of knowledge, maybe even a passing of the torch. And the fans? They could feel it. They didn't want the moment to end. They didn't want Jordan to walk away. As he walked off the floor with a smile and the MVP trophy in hand, chants filled the garden. One more year, one more year. Even Kobe joined in on the admiration. Voiceover continues. For a few hours that night, time stood still. The past and future of basketball collided in one place, one game, and it was magic. Jordan didn't just win MVP. He reminded the world who he was. And Kobe? He reminded us that the next great one had already arrived. It wasn't just a game. It was a moment of transition. One chapter was closing, and another one had just begun. Jordan wasn't ready to let go, and Kobe was already reaching for the crown. Final shot. Jordan, clutching his trophy, smiling. Kobe, walking off the court, already thinking about next year. The story wasn't over. It had only just begun.